Exam Scholar, Real Estate Edition.
Question 1. How many sections are in a township? A. 640. B. 280. C. 36. D. 20. Answer. C. There are 36 sections in a township. There are 640 acres in each section. Question 2. How many square feet are in an acre? A. 43,560. B. 23,040. C. 12,820. D. 64,640. Answer. A. There are 43,560 square feet in an acre. Question 3. When debts of a person are erased in bankruptcy, what is this called? A. Relinquish. B. Discharge. C. Closure. D. Erasure. Answer. B. The act of closing a bankruptcy case and releasing the principal from the debt is called discharge. Question 4. Financing costs usually rise on loans with A. Easy terms. B. Low down payment. C. Both of these. D. None of these. Answer. C. A loan with easy terms and low down payment must be secured, and this usually will raise financing costs. Question 5. If a neighborhood is only partially built and remains this way over a period of time, this could lead to A. Blighting. B. Negligence. C. Breach of contract. D. None of these. Answer. A. A blighted area means an area that, in its present condition and use, substantially impairs or arrests the sound growth of the municipality, retards the provision of housing accommodations, or constitutes an economic or social liability, and is a menace to the public health, safety, morals, or welfare. Question 6. The broker loan law states that the broker's loan statement must contain estimated costs including A. Escrow. B. Appraisal. C. Title. D. All of these. Answer. D. The broker's loan statement must include, among other things, estimated costs including escrow, title, appraisal, notary, recording, and credit investigations. Question 7. The possessor of land in which an easement crosses cannot A. Terminate the easement at will. B. Use the easement. C. Remain as dominant. D. None of these. Answer. A. An easement cannot be terminated at the will of the dominant property owner. Something of this nature must be determined by the courts. Question 8. A licensed real estate broker that specializes in property management usually acquires commission based on A. A percentage of the gross rents collected. B. The life of the leases. C. The value life of the property. D. A percentage of yearly estimated leases. Answer. A. A licensed real estate broker specializing in property management usually earns commission based on a percentage of the gross rents collected. Question 9. An interest in real property can be obtained by A. Court order. B. Prescription. C. Verbal agreement. D. Notarized documents. Answer. B. Typically, an easement is an interest in real property and it is acquired by prescription. Question 10. A deposit that is given to a broker from an interested buyer that has had all deposit receipt conditions fulfilled should be given to whom if the buyer decides to back out? A. The buyer. B. The seller. C. A neutral third party. D. None of these. Answer. B. If all the deposit receipt conditions have been fulfilled, the deposit belongs to the seller. Question 1. If brokers of different offices agree to set commission rates at a particular level, this would be a violation of A. The J. Edgar Hoover Antitrust Act. B. The Sherman Antitrust Act. C. The Anti-Monopoly Act of 1932. D. The Sherman Antitrust Act. Answer. B. Brokers of differing offices have faced severe punishment by conspiring to set rates because this is a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Question 2. A lease that allows a landlord to collect money based on the amount of sales the tenant's store produces is A. Illegal. B. Called a percentage lease. C. Called a net lease. D. Called a pocket lease. Answer. B. A percentage lease is a lease in which there is a base rent as well as a percentage of the gross sales is due to the landlord after a certain threshold is met. Question 3. The type of listing that is the most risky and open to fraudulent activity is called A. Pocket. B. Et. C. Exclusive. D. Gross. Answer. B. Net listings are when the agent keeps the sales price above a certain amount and can subject the broker and agent to have their licenses suspended or revoked. Question 4. When a building and a land are appraised separately, this is which type of approach to appraisal? A. Market. B. Index. C. Data. D. Cost. Answer. D. In the cost approach to appraisal, it is required that the building and land be valued separately. Question 5. What does mortgage insurance cover? A. The amount of the loan in the event of the borrower's death. B. The lender in the event of a loss. C. Job loss or accidents that render a person unable to make mortgage payments. D. Incapacitation of the borrower. Answer. B. Mortgage insurance covers a lender from losses. Question 6. What does mortgage life insurance cover? A. Pays off the loan amount in the event of the borrower's death. B. The lender in the event of a loss. C. Job loss of the borrower. D. Incapacitation of the borrower. Answer. A. Mortgage life insurance covers the amount of the loan in the event of the borrower's death. Question 7. If Sam wishes to secure a real estate loan with the inventory of his furniture store, under the Uniform Commercial Code this would be A. Legal. B. Legal as long as the inventory equals the loan amount. C. Illegal because the inventory is considered a fixture. D. Illegal because the inventory can be sold and cannot secure a loan. Answer. D. Because the inventory will eventually be sold off, this is not sufficient to secure a loan under the Uniform Commercial Code. Question 8. A contract that is binding between the buyer and the seller, as well as conditional delivery of transfer instruments to a third party is required for A. A transfer of title. B. A valid escrow. C. A person to buy a house. D. None of these. Answer. E. In order to have a valid escrow, There must be a conditional delivery of transfer instruments to a third party as well as a binding contract between buyer and seller. Question 9. In the case of a cash sale, why would a seller wish to transfer an existing fire insurance policy? A. Because then they don't have to worry about a new policy. B. Because it is more convenient this way. C. Because they will not have to pay a short-term cancellation rate. D. Because there is no need in a cash sale transaction. Answer. C. Sellers are typically more likely to want to transfer an existing fire insurance policy because they will not have to pay a short-term cancellation rate. Question 10. If a Chinese person calls an agent and asks to view property in a particular area of town that is known to house many people of Chinese descent, this would be A. An example of steering. B. An example of blockbusting. C. Perfectly legal. D. Illegal. Answer. C. In any case in which a person wishes to view a property, regardless of race, this is viewed as a perfectly legitimate opportunity and should be treated as a normal client. Question 1. If the expiration of time has passed in regards to the communication of acceptance by the seller from the buyer, this offer is considered A. Terminated. B. Valid. C. No longer an offer. D. None of these. Answer. A. One way to terminate an offer from a buyer by a seller is to let the time expire on terms of acceptance. Question 2. In real estate, the offer to perform on the terms agreed is called A. Tender. B. Performance. C. Negotiated. D. Acceptance. Answer. A. An offer by one of the parties to a real estate transaction to carry out that party's part of the contract is called the tender. This typically takes place at the end of the transaction. Question 3. If one party cannot perform their part of the agreed terms of a contract, the victim party can claim the other party. A. Performed negligently. B. Defaulted. C. Is voiding the contract. D. Is causing interference. Answer. B. If a party cannot perform their part of the agreed terms of a contract, the other party can claim the other party defaulted. Question 4. If a party was discriminated against, they could A. Bring private action through a state or federal court. B. Bring criminal action through a state court. C. Bring criminal action through a federal court. D. Bring civil action through a state court. Answer. A. Because discrimination is not considered a criminal act, the option of the party would be to bring private action through a state or federal court. Question 5. If a buyer of a property wishes to move into the newly purchased home before the close of escrow, the agent/broker should A. Allow it. B. Deny it. C. Obtain written consent from the owner. D. None of these. Answer. C. Because the home has not closed escrow, it is still owned by the current owner and therefore the agent/broker must obtain written consent to allow the new buyer to move in before the close of escrow. Question 6. A legal cause of action in which a binding agreement or bargain for exchange is not honored by one or more of the parties to the contract by non-performance or interference with the other party's performance is known as A. Breach. B. Non-disclosure. C. Voidable. D. None of these. Answer. A. Breach of contract is when one party does not honor the agreed upon terms of a contract by non-performance or interference with the other party's performance. Question 7. A clause that states a lender may demand the loan amount plus accrued interest in the event of a sale is called A. Addendum. B. Non-performance. C. Acceleration. D. Alienation. Answer: D. The clause in which a lender may call in the loan plus accrued interest in the event of a sale is known as alienation. This is different than an acceleration clause in which the loan can be called in due to non-performance of contractual duties, such as not paying mortgage payments. Question 8. What type of arrangement is a less than freehold estate? A. Owner/tenant. B. Tenant/sublessee. C. Lessor/sublessor. D. None of these. Answer: A. A less than freehold estate is an owner/tenant arrangement. Question 9. If an as-is clause is inserted into the sales contract for a property that seems to be generally okay on the outside and inside, this would be A. Allowed. B. Disallowed. C. Allowed only in cases of obvious defects. D. None of these. Answer: C. The only way an as-is clause is allowed in most situations is if there are obvious defects that any prudent person could discover. Typically they are disallowed by the real estate commissioner to protect consumers. Question 10. If one is transferring or conveying title to real property, it is called A. Alienation. B. Alluvion. C. Accretion. D. Succession. Answer: A. The term alienate in real estate means to convey or transfer. Question 1. When there is more than one borrower on a note, the obligation to pay the balance is the responsibility A. Jointly. B. Severally. C. Jointly and severally. D. Individually. Answer: C. All of the borrowers on a note are obligated and responsible to pay the loan amount both jointly and severally. Severally means individually. Question 2. If a potential buyer sees a home that he or she likes but decides not to buy it because it seems overpriced, this would likely be based on the principle of A. Price. B. Conformity. C. Substitution. D. Addendum. Answer: C. The principle of substitution is the idea that there is an equally desirable property at a much lower price. In this case, the buyer is exemplifying this principle. Question 3. What happens when an agent/broker misrepresents the principle? A. Rescission or civil court action. B. Criminal penalties. C. Apologies but no legal action. D. None of these. Answer: A. If an agent/broker misrepresents the principle in the sale, there should be a rescission or civil court action for damages. Question 4. If a buyer assumes an existing loan, the buyer also accepts what on the loan? A. Risk. B. Liability. C. Performance of contract. D. Insurance. Answer: B. In this case, if a buyer assumes an existing loan, the buyer also accepts liability on that loan. Of the given choices, this is most correct. Question 5. The party that accepts the endorsed note from the original payee without knowledge of any defects is known as A. Endorsee. B. Endorser. C. Holder in due course. D. Truster. Answer. C. The party that accepts the endorsed note from the original payee without knowledge of any defects is known as the holder in due course. Question 6. Most trust deeds contain several clauses of A. Indeterminacy. B. Acceleration. C. Habendum. D. Due process. Answer. B. Acceleration means that if a buyer cannot make payments on a note, the lender has the right to declare the entire sum due and payable immediately. Most trust deeds contain several clauses related to acceleration. Question 7. The surface of the earth and the material beneath the surface of the earth is part of the A. Real property. B. Water rights. C. Section. D. Geolocation. Answer. A. Parts of real property include the surface of the earth and the material beneath the surface of the earth. Question 8. Airways above a property are A. Public domain. B. Owned by the property owner. C. Owned by the owner up to 500 feet. D. Owned by the owner up to 1,000 feet. Answer. A. Airways above property are now considered to be public domain. Use is granted to an owner to a reasonable height. Question 9. If a buyer defaults on a loan and the lender declares the note to become due and payable immediately, this would best be described as A. An exculpatory clause. B. An habendum clause. C. An acceleration clause. D. An momentum clause. Answer. C. This is a classic example of an acceleration clause. Question 10. If demand remains constant while supply increases, which is most likely to happen in regards to prices? A. They will increase. B. They will remain the same. C. They will decrease. D. None of these? Answer. C. Typically, when demand remains constant but supply increases, competition will increase and competitors will lower prices to outbid one another. Question 1. A real estate broker only has a right to earn a commission when the property sells during the listing period except when which of the following is included in the listing agreement? A. A broker's protection clause. B. Exculpatory clause. C. A subordination clause. D. None of the above. Answer. A. The broker is entitled to a commission if the property is sold to parties with whom he has negotiated during the term of the listing for a stated number of days after the listing expires. Question 2. Harris and Davis, single people, owned a parcel of real property as joint tenants. Harris encumbered his interest for $10,000, borrowing the amount to pay medical bills without the knowledge or consent of Davis. Shortly thereafter, Harris died, with the debt still unpaid. Which of the following would be true? A. Davis and the lender would be tenants in common, each owning 1/2 interest in the property. B. Davis would own all of the property free and clear of the encumbrance. C. Davis would own all of the property but would be subject to the $10,000 loan. D. Davis and the beneficiary would own the property as joint tenants, each with a 1/2 interest. Answer. B. On the death of one joint tenant, the survivors take title to the property without the obligation to pay on foreclosed liens. Question 3. Occasionally, the title to real property becomes unmarketable. Which of the following causes would be least likely to result in that eventuality? A. Imperfect title, due to a breach caused by adverse possession of a prior owner. B. A lease pendens filed by the husband of the owner of record. C. Restrictions imposed by a private owner through a deed notation. D. Public restrictions contained in zoning ordinances and building codes. Answer. D. Public restrictions rarely cause title to real property to be unmarketable, private restrictions sometimes do. Question 4. Prices have risen 20%. What has happened to the value of the dollar? A. It has gone down 16 2/3%. B. It has gone down 20%. C. It has gone down 25%. D. None of the above. Answer. A. For instance, an item that used to sell for $1 now sells for $1.20. The dollar now buys 5/6 of what it used to buy. Its value has gone down 1/6 or 16 2/3. Question 5. What supports the floor and ceiling loads? A. Joists. B. Studs. C. Supporters. D. Mudsills. Answer. A. Joists are the beams that run horizontal and parallel to each other and are used to support the floor and ceiling loads. Joists are beams, not rafters. Question 6. A broker who takes a listing with option to purchase is, first of all, A. A principal. B. An optioner. C. An optionee. D. An agent. Answer. D. A listing agreement which contains an option to purchase is first of all a contract employing the broker to act as an agent for the owner in the sale of the property, and that is his principal role. If he exercises the option, he operates in the capacity of a principal in its resale, but this is secondary to this responsibility as an agent. Question 7. An inner-city neighborhood is well integrated with civic groups working to maintain social harmony. However, mounting problems with schools and with increasing crime have caused several white families to move out. In which of the following statements is broker Brown in violation of the law? 1. He is actively soliciting listings in the area with the slogan "Sell Now, Save Equity." 2. He is offering lower commission rates to whites who patronize his business. A. 1 only. B. 2 only. C. Both statements. D. Neither statements. Answer. C. Both of these acts are in violation of the fair housing laws. Question 8. The liquidation of a financial obligation on an installment plan or basis is A. Conversion. B. Amortization. C. Acceleration. D. Conveyancing. Answer. B. Amortization means to pay principal and interest over the life of the loan. Question 9. Mr. and Mrs. Davis held real property as husband and wife. Mr. Davis died and his will specified that all his interests were to go to his eldest son, Thomas. Son Thomas would A. Inherit an undivided 1/2 interest in the property. B. Acquire a 1/2 interest in the property. C. Acquire title to the property in fee simple, as he is the eldest male heir. D. Acquire no interest in the property as it would automatically go to the widow. Answer. A. Under the community property law, either spouse may will his or her undivided 1/2 to anyone they choose. Question 10. Inasmuch as real property requires more time to market than listed securities, require more care, and comes in larger denominations, its return should be A. About the same as from bonds. B. Higher than from bonds and less than from first trust deeds. C. Equal to the return from first mortgages. D. Higher than that of bonds or first mortgages. Answer. D. The return from real property should be higher than from bonds or first trust deeds because of the above factors.
Exam Scholar, Real Estate Edition.